Thank you. I have my cheat sheet here, just in case. I don't think I need it too much, but... So my name is Mari-Klara. I'm very happy to be here to share some thoughts on human-AI collaboration. It's based on some recent research, mostly in the field of management and information systems, some of it from other researchers, some of it my own. And I will definitely take us back towards the nearer future, so not as far out as 2300, but also I think the things we think about now and the actions we do now very much shape the future that we're going to see in 2300. So I'm really hoping that we won't end up in the place where we have lost our intelligence and ability to be better than the AI. What are we talking about when we're talking about human-AI collaboration? So it's really there's a lot of research that is increasingly focusing on the fact that humans and AI are going to be working together rather than AI replacing humans. But what does that actually mean, and how could it look like? So this is just to start with. So this quote: over the next decade, AI won't replace managers, but managers who use AI will replace those that don't. This is actually from 2017. It's a Harvard Business Review article. But I've seen it repeated so many times this year because of the ChatGPT, and all of a sudden everyone started saying this, right? And then actually we've reached the stage where in 2023 we have now a more sweeping statement, which is AI won't replace humans, but humans with AI will replace humans without AI. So it's no longer just managers or specialists or doctors or whatever. Now it's just humans. So it's interesting. But what you can very much see behind both of these quotes, and generally the human-AI collaboration research, is a very strong assumption that this collaboration will mostly have positive effects. Meaning that, yes, we expect that there will be a shift in the division of labor between humans and machines, and some people will lose out, but on the whole, in most cases, AI tools will support humans, empowering the latter to produce A+ results, right? So we believe that AI will be an assistant, it will help us, we will become better through it, right? Maybe we're naive, or maybe we're just very positive, but this is the belief. But actually, if we look at recent evidence, then this assumption has not so much support, right? So that is kind of what I would like to walk you through, is looking at 3 different collaboration scenarios and recent evidence of what are actually the outcomes when humans and AI collaborate in different ways. So the first scenario is the sort of classical delegation, right? So what happens here is that typically we expect that the human will delegate something to AI, right? So this is the humans use tools to do tasks kind of version. Recent research has actually found that while it is beneficial to let the AI delegate work to humans, humans were unable to delegate well to AI, because while AI seems to have a good perception of its own abilities, humans are not able to differentiate between tasks they are able to do well and those they are not able to do well. So when we have humans delegating to AI, what happens is actually not A+ results, because we don't know how to delegate. However, if we have the case where AI delegates to humans, another problem arises, because humans are used to being what are called role senders, meaning we give tasks to ourselves, to other humans, and to tools. We assign roles, we assign what others do, right? And all of a sudden, if you're in a situation where AI is the role sender, it tells you what to do, it delegates you tasks, and you are the role taker, then it is very, very likely what occurs is role conflict, which reduces job performance. It also reduces job satisfaction. So again, no A+ results. The second scenario, also very often talked about, is called augmentation, right? So we're often saying, oh, it's not automation, it's augmentation, it's going to be great. We get to do all the creative stuff and AI does the routine stuff. What actually happens? So, a typical example, again here, might be something like using AI advice when hiring, right? So large companies often use AI to screen through hundreds of CVs because they just don't have the manpower to do it themselves. The AI generates a short list of candidates, and the HR managers look at this shortlisted candidates and make the final decision, for example, who to interview. What the research has shown here is that actually over time, AI advice can decrease the complementary knowledge between humans and the AI, particularly the unique knowledge of humans. What does it mean? Humans start mimicking AI decisions and lose their ability to improve upon the mechanistic decision making. So if we're taking the HR example, what happens is that the HR managers over time is just, oh, so nice, I don't even need to do anything. Like I will stop questioning which candidates were filtered out, why were they filtered out. I just have this great shortlist. It works well enough, right? So they become more similar to the machine in their decision making. The other option that could happen here is that actually in more difficult scenarios, humans are unable to process the result that is produced by an AI, especially if it's a black box AI. This is something that we're seeing in predictive policing, right? So this is used in a number of countries, also in the EU, for example, in the Netherlands. So what happens with predictive policing algorithms is that they produce recommendations that the police are supposed to take on board when planning their patrols. But police officers say, I feel so uncomfortable. This is weird. I don't know how to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be responsible for this. So what actually has happened is the introduction of an entirely new human role in the system. So it's a kind of a knowledge broker. So it's somebody who understands the AI, but isn't a police officer, doesn't know anything about policing. But this person and takes the output from the AI and translates it into patrol maps for the police. And then the police goes out and patrols accordingly. So we have two scenarios here, right? One case is the human just becomes more similar to AI, so they become kind of like a bot or a mechanization of the human. So no A+ results. Or we have the introduction of an entirely new actor into the work system, which may produce A+ results, but it will take quite a bit of effort and quite a bit of time because you need to, work this, make sure that this works. And also, it doesn't rely on replacing humans, or more AI. It actually relies on introducing more humans into the system. And our final scenario is the least well-known. There's quite little research on this, but it's called the ensemble. Here, the human and the AI perform basically the same task in parallel, and the outputs of whatever they're doing are aggregated. It's best to understand the difference between the ensemble and the augmentation via an example, right? So take medical diagnosis. Most of the research on human-AI collaboration that looks at medical diagnosis is looking at it from the augmentation scenario, right? So we have an AI that gives a recommended diagnosis to the human physician, and then the human physician can either accept the diagnosis, say, yes, I agree, and convey it to the patient. They can reject it, say, I don't agree, come up with their own diagnosis, or they can modify the AI recommended diagnosis, right? So that's classical augmentation. There's been tons of studies that show all of the same problems we just discussed. So anchoring, meaning there's also the loss of the unique knowledge, and also complacency bias, meaning that the physician, the human physician, over time becomes unable to improve upon the algorithm recommended diagnosis, and they just sort of accept it, like, fine. So, but in an ensemble scenario, what would happen is that the human physician would look at all the evidence they have and make a diagnosis the same way they have been doing for centuries, right? Using their judgment, their expertise, their experience, everything, right? So they keep themselves sharp, right? They keep practicing these very, very important skills to make good diagnosis, right? And the AI system would do the same in parallel, and they would work independently without influencing each other. And what the patient in the end would get is a human physician diagnosis and a second opinion from the AI. So in this case, the aggregated output may indeed be A+, because it might be a better diagnosis, because you have a second opinion built into the system. And what you also have built into the system is the ability for the human physician to keep practicing what is in fact their sort of professional competence, right? So they keep their skills sharp. So what actually this scenario suggests is that in order, so as it says on the quote here, for the continued importance of humans in such ensembles, humans must stay emulation-proof, meaning we must be noisy enough, unique enough, so that AI cannot reverse engineer us, so that they can basically just do as good as we do, right? The only way we can do that is if we keep practicing doing the difficult things. So the only way we can stay relevant is by not trying to give all the difficult tasks to AI. We should carefully guard the things that are sort of make us human and that we want to be good at. Because if we want to continue to be good at them, then we need to put in the work. You can't be good at something without practice. So in sum, what we're seeing in this space of human-AI collaboration is that it's not actually, the argument isn't, oh, is it automation or collaboration, is it replacement or working together? It's more the question of how are we going to work together, right? And depending on the scenario, we can see that in some cases, actually the outcome is going to be less than the sum of the parts. It's not great. It's not A+ results. We're not getting any better. And in other cases, like the ensemble, actually the result might be more than the sum of the parts, right? So the aggregated outcome might be better than the sum of the parts. So we should yeah. So the big question is not whether and how AI should replace us, but when and how should we collaborate, but also sometimes when and how should we actually compete. And I think there's many human things that have also been mentioned in the talks before that we somehow believe are our weaknesses that working with AI should help us get over. To name a few, intuition, So, there's been a lot of Nobel-prized behavioral economics studies that have trampled our intuition and said it's the worst thing, and AI is going to help us improve upon our gut feeling and intuition. But actually, we don't know enough about our intuition to make these kinds of statements. So intuition is one, and the second is actually our physical bodies. So this whole idea that you can separate our consciousness and our cognition and upload it to the matrix is a fantasy. So we take our bodies so for granted that we only realize how important they are to how we are in the world, how we perceive the world, how our brain works, is that we only realize it when we lose it, when we get really sick, when we can no longer move, when we're not let out of the house, when we no longer can feel the sun on our face, the breeze in our hair, hold hands with someone, right? The pandemic put that in very sharp contrast. So these things we take super for granted and we think are our weaknesses are actually, if we think about some of these sort of ensemble scenarios of working with AI that might actually be very positive, this is where our intuition and our physical being in the world will become our competitive advantage. This is what makes us us. This is what makes us more than AI, and it will always make us more than AI. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a few questions. First of all, perhaps there is a question from the audience that hasn't yet been put to Slido. I see one hand over there, one hand over there, and the third hand over there. Excellent. You can start, sir.
So the first thing I was going to say is nothing against. It's not a question. It's just a reference about one of the theories that you were mentioning, that regarding to obey the AI. It was denying, saying that we don't obey. We obey all our lives. We obey to our parents. We obey to our teachers. We obey to our bosses. It doesn't mean that we agree every time. We could disagree, and then it can become a confrontation. And that's only that. That part is only that what I wanted to say. It's not the one that I defend. I think, and that is the question that I'm going to make you. Don't you think that, for example, in this, I found if some people in here probably don't remember this because it was a long time ago. There was a match between two chess players. In this case, it was a machine, and then the other one was Kasparov, I think. And then they confronted, and they made many matches, and I think he also won. So, which means that don't you think the AI could work better with the person, with the human, in a way that the confrontation would be challenging? Challenging is mine, because I think creation and creativity, usually by people, they are very, how do you say, good in knowledge, good in development, creates more, how do you say, more thinking, more ways of creating new novelties and something new that perhaps will create a better world in a better smart city, everything like that. So, wouldn't you think that challenging would be the best way, and not the opposite, taking out information from the AI, hiding it from him, and challenging? I think.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Great question. So to clarify, the ensemble scenario doesn't suggest that they should work independently and in parallel, but that doesn't mean you should hide it. I perfectly agree with the challenge. For example, after the diagnosis have been reached, you could share the thought process, the reasoning process of the AI with the doctor so that they can see it, but it doesn't influence them in the process. But it's a sort of a competition where afterwards you see how your partner or the one you were sort of the other doctor was doing. Similarly how human doctors, right? They also get together and talk about their best practices and so on. So of course there would be sharing of insights. There would just not be this, in the time, the AI wouldn't cut off the human reasoning process too early by saying, here's my advice, because that just makes it like, oh, okay, I don't need to do anything. So I think we're actually in agreement.
Excellent. There were more questions. Please raise your hand so we see you. Okay, this gentleman over there.
Hello. My question is also kind of an addition to what the other colleague asked, and it's also about satisfaction and sort of not being replaced, but working in unison. And the question that I had is based on how we think what our rules are in life, what's the meaning of life, and I personally think it's the struggle, and knowing that we gain satisfaction from struggling on ideas and struggling on things, then being replaced is probably a bad idea. So that's why I'm not gonna ask the same thing that he asked, but because it was on the same formula, but. I want to ask, how likely do you think it is that that situation doesn't come true and that we end up actually giving AI the most difficult tasks, since history has always proved that power and money is the most powerful motivator for anyone to do anything?
Oh my goodness. So I really liked your comment, right? That the meaning of life is struggle, and we actually like that, and therefore, so I would not be able to assign a probability to this. Maybe we should ask the previous speaker, Andrus. I would say what is important is that we consider not probabilities but possibilities, the possibilities of the different scenarios, and work towards the possibilities we like better than the other ones.
Thank you. More questions? Go ahead. So.
Thank you. So basically, when you talked about consciousness, you made a really interesting point, and I'm curious, in your opinion, what consciousness is and why do you think so?
Next speaker. I not my area of expertise, so I think I'm just. What the point I was trying to make is that we underestimate the importance of our bodies because we take them for granted and we consider them a weakness. But what exactly is consciousness? I would be overstepping the boundaries of my expertise tremendously. So let's ask Jan Aro.
Jan Aro will join us in about 10 minutes. So if you have more questions from the audience, you're free to raise your hand. We have a question from there. Go ahead.
So there's like AGI topic and superintelligence. So when we come to better than human AI, how this competence model will work out? That's all.
I'm not sure I understood the question. Can you rephrase?
Like when the AI models become better on testing and real life decisions. So when human always agreed with that, or like, do we slow down AI development, or this like model of management between human and AI is just for nowadays solutions on AI technology?
Aha. Okay. Again, I think it very much. It depends on what we do today. I think if we start following, for example, this ensemble scenario in more use cases where we're collaborating with AI or competing with it, working together with AI, let's put it like that, then I think we perhaps learn better where we need to improve, where we need to improve the AI, and then it also, I think it doesn't necessarily matter whether AI is becoming better than us. That's not a problem. It can be better than us. We should just not then give up, right? So basically, even if the AI becomes more accurate in making medical diagnosis, for example, I don't think that means that the human doctors should just give up, because they can bring something else into this equation. And so the part that they do, they do the same task, the medical diagnosis in parallel, right? So first of all, they keep their skills sharp. So at one point, when we no longer can rely on AI, for example, then we have a fallback plan. But second, humans can become better over time because they learn from the AI. So we also improve ourselves, meaning of life, etc. And we also potentially discover new things that we are good at or better at than AI that we don't yet know. So this is a very difficult question, actually. Very good.
Great answer. Any more difficult questions, or should I make up some of my own questions spontaneously?
Also have one question. I just want.
You have the mic?
Thing. Did you actually notice some kind of AI automation agencies rising in Estonia? Or
so practical examples. Now we need the previous speaker, so he would be able to tell us, at least in the government. I think I know, for example, that this use case of using AI in hiring, so it's not automation, but it's sort of augmentation, right? It's giving advice. That is happening actually quite a lot, even though it's now considered a high risk use of AI by the EU AI Act. So there might be changes in that area, but I do know that it's used in. So is that your question, or am I misunderstanding?
no, it's basically, yeah, you answered my question, and I'm grateful for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Grateful for your question. Thank you very much. I'm just wondering if we already have Jan Aro online, or should we keep frying you on the stage? You're doing super well, but we could go on for hours, of course. But maybe Jan Aro, can the technicians give me?
He's
me a
online.
sign?
Okay, good.
We have him. We have him. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
it was
you.
a pleasure, really.
Thank you.